It's
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today, we share the third session from the Chronicles of Hope, the Collective, Book 2. Andrew Periale is joining me again to read the voice of Aurora, Gary's spiritual sister, who has never taken human form. She brings timely messages of concern for humanity, that if we don't change our ways, we may not have much time left. Her message was the same as the others of the collective, yet from a different perspective, with much more urgency. She was concerned that the timeline had shifted and paints a picture that soon Gaia will react more strongly to clear up the mess we're in. Humanity will live on, yet in a different way. The meek shall still inherit the earth, and those in power who think they're prepared to survive will not. This came through 4 years ago. And so much has happened since then to make these messages even more urgent and important. Of the spirits we've met, Aurora was the most adamant of the world's potential demise. Specifically, she told us if we do not change our ways of hatred, conflict, and greed, humanity is headed for extinction. Although she cannot tell us when this probable event will happen, she expressed concern that the original timeline is gone. What the collective calls the tipping point is coming much faster than predicted. It was alarming to hear her say that the world as we know it is heading for an end, and that we don't realize how little time is left. Aurora and the collective urgently implore us to get these messages to humanity before that tipping point is reached. And several months before this session with Aurora, the Unquietus told us about 3 of their children's children who were on Earth to help humanity. Aurora disclosed that one of those had since died, and now there were only 2 of them left. She expected another to leave soon, and that Gary's spirit would be the last of his kind to remain in physical form. Further confirming the urgency, Aurora discussed that her kin will not return to corporeal form until humanity makes its choice. The time is now. Civilization must learn to live together without conflict. We must awaken, reverse the spiral of toxic negativity, and shift our vibrational energy to be more positive. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590.live or 95.3 FM. Please share these messages, watch the videos on my YouTube channel or website, loisherman.com, and join our Hope community for support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net.
And all the light will be, and all the future prophecy the waves, the sea, and on the road are you and me. And all the ways are like a kiss, and all the years are nemesis, and all the moments fall in mist, and all is dust. Remember this.
Chronicles of Hope, the Collective, Book 2, Session 3. You may call me Aurora. I am Sister Spirit to Gary. The path that humanity is currently on, if it makes no changes, will invariably lead to its own end. Humanity has a simple choice. Either they learn to live together or face extinction. Aurora. Intention. Gary, Paul, and I gathered to do another discovery session. We ruminated over what had transpired in the last session with Jesus, and were still in awe of the messages he brought to us. He gave us insight that we apply to the work we do to guide lost spirits into the light. We feel and appreciate Jesus' guidance every day. We wondered who we would speak with in this session. Our goal for these messages is to reach a diverse audience beyond religious beliefs and spiritual practices. Today we thought about asking one of Jesus' brothers, Muhammad, to come through. At the time, there were issues and situations with religious extremists who were killing in the name of God. Would it be prudent to ask his opinion on what people could do? We also discussed what questions to ask. Those in the collective who've come through Gary have spoken of humanity's two probable outcomes. They've not given specifics on what those outcomes might be. We wanted to get more details. We were ready to learn more from these amazing wise ones. Conversation. After guiding Gary into a deep trance, I begin the session. Allow yourself to relax deeply, peacefully. I would like to invite the Unquietas to send whomever they would like for us to connect with on this day and this time. We are curious as to whom you would like to send to teach us lessons for humanity. As Gary lifts his head from a reclined sleep-like pose, he slightly gasps. His eyes slowly blink as he stretches his mouth open and closed. Hello, I say. At the sound of my voice, Gary turns his focus to me and stutters softly in a light voice.
Forgive me. This is my first time in a human body.
His eyes continue to slowly open as he shifts his shoulders in the chair and murmurs something about being uncomfortable. He leans forward in the chair, clears his throat, folds his hands politely in his lap, looks directly at me, and smiles. To whom are we speaking?
Friend Lois. Friend Paul. We have never met. I have never been on Earth before. You may call me Aurora.
I notice he tilts, or she tilts her head slightly from side to side, as if to get comfortable in the body. And I say, Aurora?
Yes. I am a sister to the spirit that motivates this body. I am one of the children's children. I understand who you were looking to speak with. but I have intruded.
Well, welcome. I'm sure you are here to bring us amazing insight.
There are things that I will share with you. Part of why I have come is to give you a perspective from a spirit who hasn't been on Earth. I think you might find that useful. You have specific questions that you would like to ask?
There are questions that we would like to ask based on the messages from your kin. We've been told that humanity has two distinct futures if we don't change. We were curious as to whether you would be able to share what those two outcomes are and what you recommend that humanity do to change the future.
There are only probabilities for the future. It is not cast in stone. The two most likely outcomes. It is very dangerous for someone to know too much of their own personal future. It can be even more dangerous for a civilization.
I understand.
The path that humanity is currently on, if it makes no changes, will invariably lead to its own end. Civilization will fall first. Civilization is very fragile, especially on Earth. Humanity as a species most likely will survive, but it is hard to see the future. All I can tell you for certain is that the world as you know it is heading for an end. Some will survive to start again. The ultimate future of the species depends largely on who the survivors are. The people who cause the most trouble, the people who are leading civilization down the path of destruction, are the people who will make the strongest effort to protect themselves. However, they won't necessarily succeed. 2,000 years ago, my brother, Jesus, said, "The meek shall inherit the earth." That is still the probable future. That is still the most likely outcome for civilization, a new civilization based on equality. There is too much inequality in the world today. Gaia provides people with all they need. There is no scarcity. Yet civilization on this planet seems to be based on the premise that there isn't enough to go around. This leads to greed, and it is unnecessary. There is more than enough of everything. It is important to get that message across. It seems self-evident and obvious, but there are people who have no food, no clothing, no shelter. People whom civilization has simply discarded. These people have no voice, so they receive no help. And it isn't necessary. There is more than enough for everyone. Everyone should contribute what they are able. The only other alternate path that civilization can take would be to make changes that support those who are now forgotten. It is necessary to distribute the resources so that everyone is included. Sadly, the people who need to make those decisions are the people who have decided to send humanity down this path in the first place. We have no recommendation as to what to do other than to speak out. There is no force that we can bring to bear to help. We would not, even if we could. That is not our place. We can only advise. That is what my siblings have done for countless millennia. It is sad that our messages are so often twisted or forgotten or buried. My brother has not returned to Earth in the last 2,000 years for fear of producing another revolution that might even be more harmful. It was never intended to create friction between groups of people. He preached that people should be as one, In a sense, you are all one. You are all children of the earth. You are all one species. We know of many species on many worlds that do not have the internal conflict that seems so pervasive here. Even reviewing the history, we have trouble determining from whence this comes. It is not unique, but it is a very peculiar trait of humans. They thrive on conflict. For a new species, that is necessary. It strengthens the species. It weeds out those who are too weak to survive. But beyond a certain point, it becomes excessive and leads to what you would call the class disparities that seem to exist now. We would hope that simply reminding people that you are all one people would be enough. We doubt this will help, but it is the only recommendation that we know how to make.
Mm-hmm.
We have sent many messengers. Many of my siblings have been on Earth before. They have all said the same thing, and the message has been lost every time. One of my siblings has recently returned to us. There are now only 2 spirits like us on Earth. In a very short time, another will return to the spirit. The spirit that motivates this body will be the last of our kind to remain. So, humanity has a choice, and it's a very simple choice. Either they learn to live together or face near extinction. Gaia loves all the children she creates, but sometimes one species must be lost to allow another to develop. This has happened 5 times in Earth's past. Several of the events were beyond Gaia's control, but some of them were her own doing. She still weeps for the species that are lost. She weeps for every life that is lost, but sometimes it comes down to the greatest good for the greatest number. Earth is at that tipping point right now. It is several hundred years sooner than we had predicted. We have discouraged new spirits from being born as humans in an effort to allow the older spirits more of a chance to bring the earth back into balance. We do not stop it. We cannot stop it. A spirit will be born where it wants to be born. We try to make suggestions to send the new spirits elsewhere.
I understand.
You specifically mentioned that you wanted to talk to the spirit who was Muhammad. He is invisible, corporeal form on another world right now. It is interesting that he's with a species not dissimilar from your own, perhaps 20,000 years our junior, or your junior. He is on a world in a galaxy for which you have no name. However, there were other prophets, other spirits who are around you in spirit form, but all they can do is repeat the same message if you ask them to come, and it is the same message that my brother Jesus gave you a short time ago. It is difficult for humans to have their faith shaken. Most of the information that you have been given from my kin is potentially very destabilizing. The message is important, and you do have to get it out there, and you have to get it out there quickly. Humanity doesn't realize how little time it has left, and no, I can't tell you exactly when. I wouldn't if I could. The message has to be delivered in a way that people are going to be willing to accept. For 2,000 years, most of humanity has believed in the one true God. Perhaps it would be best not to try to dispel them of this idea. The concept of one true God was created by men in order to motivate people to behave in a way that they believed was, the word they would probably use is righteous, but right is sufficient. They believed that without the promise of reward or the threat of punishment, that the strong, the physically strong, would simply dominate everyone else. If you examine civilization today, you'll see that that is exactly what has come to pass. Only the definition of what strong means has changed. It's no longer the biggest and the physically strongest. Those who have managed to gather more than they need is your modern civilization's definition of strong. But considering that most of the resources on this world are controlled now by only a very small handful of people, that is not a stable civilization. Gaia doesn't like the way that people treat each other, but likes even less the way they treat her. You know this. Mm-hmm. Her reactions to civilization will become much worse in a very short period of time. Sadly, Gaia cannot target the people whom she realizes are responsible. She can only paint with a very broad brush, and she weeps for the innocent who suffer because of her actions. But she takes the only actions that she can. She is with us in our desire to find a less violent way to evoke the change that is so necessary. It is very unusual for us to speak directly to a physical species, partly because it is so difficult, mostly because our efforts backfire. And we almost wish there was an omnipotence in the universe incapable of error, but there is none such. We make mistakes. We have before, we will again. The reason that we talk to you is because you are human. You will recognize flaws that we cannot see. When my brother spoke 2,000 years ago, the words were simple enough, but somehow they were not accepted. We hope that coming from native humans, the words might be better accepted. Not that people understand from whence the message comes. The knowledge of what Jesus truly is only in your hands right now. That he was more than simply human is understood, but he wasn't the Son of God. I suppose you could say he was the son of gods, but well, we have no desire to be worshipped. We would be happy to have humans simply take our advice. Have you another question?
Yes, thank you. The reason we thought to invoke Muhammad is because there are those who cause harm in the name of God. Not all are Muhammad's followers. How can we touch their hearts to help them change? That's one question. The other one is more personal. I'd like to know more about you. Can you tell us about yourself?
To answer your first question, it is probably best not to specifically target any particular religious group or belief. Humans do not react well to having their beliefs challenged. Your history is written in blood. All I can suggest is to reiterate those messages in a very generic way. My brother's first message is, love thy neighbor. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. It's a very simple message. It can be delivered without the draping of some religion, as it originally was. Humans have evolved beyond the need to believe in God. They have science now. They don't need to think that it thunders because a God is angry. If they want to attribute something beyond themselves to what they see around them, they should be more respectful of Gaia. By any human definition, Gaia is a god, a goddess. The Native Americans, the Druids, there are many cultures that respect nature. Not worship, respect. Humanity is also worthy of respect. It is not a majority of people who are causing the majority of problems. Present the message of peace, of restoring balance. Pause and reflect before taking an action. It is very simple to give in to a reflex. It takes maturity to stop and consider your response. Any struggle can be stopped by only one side if they simply choose not to fight. It really is as simple as that. If my brother's message, turn the other cheek, was one of the basic tenets by which people lived, most of the problems would go away. People need to be reminded in a secular way of the basic messages that all religions have. It is only the religious trappings that cause difficulty. We find it hard to understand how some religions, which on the surface seem so similar, could hate each other so much. And yet, there are religions vastly different that do not possess that level of hatred. As well as we know the entire history of the world, we do not know where that comes from. We do not know how that hatred became so ingrained in humanity. We understand that love and hate cannot exist independently, any more than dark and light cannot exist independently. But it is not necessary to give in to hatred so easily. It only takes a simple effort of will. People need to be reminded that they're better than they think they are. Somehow, that message has been lost. There are ancient civilizations on Earth that were not only peaceful within, but were able to interact with others and still remain peaceful. Humanity is probably unique in having evolved to the point of having civilization, but then devolved back into conflict. We've never seen that on another world. We have seen conflict in younger species, but once they grow out of it, they leave it behind. Humanity has not only carried it with them, they wear it like a badge of honor. It's very self-destructive. And that destruction is coming. Humanity will destroy itself if it does not learn to live with itself. Those are the only two outcomes. I chose the name Aurora because it was simply on the top of Gary's mind when I came in. We have no names that we could speak among ourselves. We do not even communicate in a way that you would understand because we have no bodies. As much as we are all one, we are also individuals. We are individual in a very different sense than a physical being would understand it, but we each have our predilections and avocations. Mine, I watch out for my siblings. Some of them can be very passionate about their particular avocations, and with great passion can come great stubbornness. There are times when they do not know when to let go of their passion, and they can hurt their own spirits. You are aware that a human has four parts. A physical part, which is the receptacle which the etheric parts reside in. Humans have a mental part, which is the intellect. They have an emotional part and a spiritual part. When a human is conceived, the physical body begins to develop. At some point during that development, the intellectual and the emotional bodies are created. Not necessarily at the same time, and at that time they are created differs for each individual. At some point before birth, the spiritual body is synchronized and joins, and now you have a whole person. Again, all the points at which this happens vary depending upon the individual. The physical body will develop with life throughout its entire life. The spiritual body is fully formed and developed when it enters. Even if it is a brand new spirit, having never been in a body before, in and of itself, it is complete. It will learn as the human body develops. Most of the changes that happen to a spiritual body occur at the end of the physical life, when the vessel is broken. The spiritual being can review the mental and emotional parts and keep the parts they choose. That is how all spirits develop. Newer spirits develop more quickly because they have less to build on. It is like momentum. They have very little when they begin. The reason that I chose to come here today is in the hope that you can do something that might relieve some of the human struggle. If there is any hope left for humanity at all, it's in the work that you are doing. My other siblings on Earth, one has given up and one is about to. Gary will be all that's left. None of my siblings will return to Earth until it survives. These messages will be all you have left. We wish you the best. We hope you succeed.
We will do our best.
Thank you so much. I think I need to leave.
Thank you so much for coming, Aurora. We're honored to have you.
We know you will do your best.
Thank you.
And thank you for allowing me to come.
As Gary's spirit returns, in this session was one of the ones that was the most painful for him. For some reason, he was very emotional and experienced a great deal of pain and distress. We ended up doing Reiki to calm him and used comforting words to get him back into his body. And upon debriefing the session, he described that he had such intense pain in his heart, and he wasn't sure whether the pain was because he'd been in such a euphoric place, and then to come down, lowering his vibration into the human body was very painful, or whether he, as this expanded spirit, was feeling the weight of humanity in his heart. One of the interesting things that we experienced that evening, as we left the office, we looked up, it was dusk. We looked up at the skyline, and the sky was painted in such amazing colors. Aurora had painted our sky for us in such colors of deep blues and rich greens and brilliant oranges and vibrant reds and golden yellows. I have never seen the sky painted like that in New Hampshire before or since. So we were grateful that we were given this gift from Aurora, and we were grateful for her messages to us. According to Aurora, civilization is very fragile on Earth and will fall first. Humanity as a species will most likely survive. Some will endure to start again. Yet the future depends largely on who the survivors are. It would seem that in the event of an apocalypse, those with power would survive, although Aurora says that's not what will happen. She reminds us that what Jesus said about the meek inheriting the earth is true. In the event of an apocalypse, humans will live on and create a new civilization based on peace and respect for one another. This is the new awakening. Aurora emphasizes that challenge is necessary for a species to become stronger and eliminate those who cannot withstand hardship. Yet I wonder about the extensive nature of conflict at this stage of our civilization. And I wonder about what we're experiencing now, 4 years later than when she came to us. Species are supposed to mature, and as they confront challenge, they're intended to overcome disagreement, to be more accepting, and together form a healthy civilization. And this has certainly not been our course. Humanity has seemed to regress into immature patterns of hatred, conflict, dissension, and greed, which is damaging to both individuals and civilization. Are these immature patterns really a direct result of our primitive conditioning? Is there a lack of knowing what to do because there are few positive role models, elders, or teachers who can provide guidance to help us work through these challenges? Or is there a dark agenda being played out that is affecting most of humanity right now? Aurora tells us there are few people who cause most of Earth's problems. When people come from a place of greed or fear, they lose respect for others and seek to forcibly exert control. They speak, write, or act based on negative emotions such as anger, hate, and blame, which creates a cycle of retaliation. This lowers vibrational energy for everyone involved. Aurora encourages us to present a message of peace to restore balance. We must learn how to pause and reflect before taking an action and giving in to primitive reflexes. As we learn to set clear boundaries without reacting and practice discernment, we discover ways to hold our vibrational energy high. Most humans react instinctively from a place of self-preservation. To stop conflict, Aurora says it should only take a simple effort of will. However, it does not feel that simple at all. Humans tend to ruminate over the wrongs of others that others have done to them, allowing destructive thoughts to control our minds and our actions. Unfortunately, many have difficulty releasing those negative thoughts without reactions that incite anger or retribution. Others retreat from tension with self-destructive thoughts, habits, and behaviors. Negative mindset causes so much stress, anxiety, depression, and sickness in humans today. All of this lowers our vibrational level. How can we create conscious awareness to shift internal distress, change external reactions, and respond from a place of peace, honesty, integrity, and respect? More than a simple act of will, it takes pause, reflection, conscious awareness, self-control, and choosing our actions more mindfully. By thinking, acting, and responding more positively, we are able to use discernment to forgive, accept, and move on. You must protect your energy without aggression or retaliation. Never allow others to drain your energy, which leaves you in a weakened, confused, and hopeless state. Set your boundaries. Practice self-healing on a regular basis. Set your sacred space. Ask your wise guides of the light for the strength to walk away from distress. Request that they help the troubled ones so that you can redirect your focus to help heal yourself. To recover from any challenging person or situation, seek help to regain your power and increase your energy on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Surround yourself with positive people, places, experiences, and uplifting energy to create a life of inner and outer peace. From a global perspective, leaders must apply the principle of turning the other cheek in many ways. Stop posturing or fighting. Agree to disagree. Set clear boundaries. Remove support for negativity. Show respect. Embrace ethics and morality. And focus on doing good. When we incorporate such values in our policies, local, national, and international relationships will change dramatically. People need to remember they're better than they think they are. They're stronger than they think they are. We must become involved in our communities to help affect and stimulate change toward a new positive awareness. The collective is relying on us to come from the human perspective to help people learn to be more positive. We must develop ways to regularly shift our energy to be lighter and brighter, to first pause, then respond rather than react to situations. When we come from a place of inner peace and self-awareness with solid boundaries, we bring positive influence to every situation. I am so grateful that Aurora chose to speak with us this day. The reason she came was in the hope that we can relieve some of the human struggle. She reminded us if there is any hope left for humanity at all, it's in the work that we are doing, that you are doing. She wishes us the best and she hopes that we'll succeed. Aurora's visit left us with hopeful hearts and an enhanced dedication to deliver these messages to humanity. We hope you receive them into your hearts. Make changes in your own life and do what you can to make a difference in your community. Collectively, we do have the ability to bring positive change to humanity and our precious planet. One person, one community, one country at a time. And one of the things that came out of this session with Aurora was the concept of creating a roadmap for hope. The Unquietus told us, if you want to put the world in a positive, healing place, remember this. The act of wanting something generates feelings of want, which is negative, adding to the problem. Believe positively that things are better or on the road to improvement. This thinking creates positive energy. There is a difference between wanting, believing, and knowing. Knowing is the best, the strongest. Knowing how the world should be generates the strongest positive force. Do uplifting activities and simple things that create joy in your life, and to think positive, grateful, and hopeful thoughts while doing them. They taught us to honor the earth, connect with nature, get outside. When you're feeling stressed and negative, go outside, look at the birds, watch the squirrels, feel the breeze, dance in the rain. Care for your body. Make healthy choices, choose healthy foods. Get good sleep. Take good care to move your body, to distance yourself from negativity. The third point was to create with joy. Do uplifting things, whatever it is that you love to do, whether it's create music, art, or just simply talk with a friend. Create. We are creators. Let's create things that give us joy. 4, raise vibrational energy. Smile and laugh. As we smile, as we laugh, it shifts our energy to be more positive and more uplifted. 5, know there is plenty. Share what you can and know that there is plenty, that we have plenty of resources. Appreciate what we have and know that there's a noise that's going on. And know that everything is positive. Know. When you look around at all the good you have in your life, it creates more appreciation. Gratitude is huge. So when you look around and see what you have, it amplifies the positive. It creates more. Respect each other. Make personal connections. During this time of great dissension, reach out to friends of like mind, someone to talk with, someone to share with. It's really critical to keep yourself connected with others who respect you and showing respect for others as well. Even if you disagree, do so with respect. Do so from a place of realizing that many people are on different tracks. Some of you may remember the different types of phono albums. There were 44s or 33s and different. It's like people are vibrating at different levels. They're playing from different tracks. We may not understand the language they're speaking, but it's not for us to show disrespect. It's for us to realize that people are just at different levels on different paths and different languages, and it's okay. Number 7, ask for assistance. Reach for the light. Reach for the light of love and trust the messages that are coming through. Ask. Our wonderful guides have told us time and time again that they cannot interfere with our free will. We must ask. And when we ask, it is amazing the assistance that they offer. Ask on a regular basis. Start each day with a sacred space, with asking for protection, healing, and empowerment across all levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychic, social, professional, financial, environmental, technological, relational, political, educational, and more. Asking, receive, believe, and it will be. Live with gratitude is number 8. Appreciate what you have. As I said a moment ago, what you appreciate amplifies. What you devalue or depreciate destroys. So shift your mindset to look for the joy. Look for the things that give you joy that you can appreciate and allow them to grow. The more they grow, no matter what's going on around you, being that calm in the middle of the storm shifts your energy, and it shifts the energy of others around us. It's really important to stay in that energy space. So I'd like you to close your eyes for just a moment. And I want you to imagine, if you can, if you're driving, I'm sure you can't close your eyes. But if you're at home with your feet up, close your eyes and imagine 4 columns or pillars of light. I like to envision north, south, east, and west. You may even wish to imagine 4 additional columns so that you're surrounded by 8 columns of light. And imagine walls of light connecting each of these magnificent columns with a foundation of light underneath and a dome of light overhead. And on the outside of all of these walls of light, put a shiny reflective coating, a mirror type of a coating that deflects anything negative. And as it deflects, it transmutes, transforms it, and sends it back as positive. And on the outside of that, imagine Saint Germain's violet flame of transmutation. You might even wish to put an electrical or magnetic charge in it, again to repel anything negative and keep you in safety. And on the inside of this sacred space, place that transmuting violet flame to transmute any negative energy you may have picked up along the way. And into your sacred space, invite your guides. It could be Jesus, it could be Mother Gaia, it could be an archangel, Mary, whomever your heart calls. Have a personal relationship with them. Invite Aurora to be there. They will be if we call from our heart and feel their presence. If you do this every day and set your intention to be of service to someone this day with joy, it's amazing how your life will change. Setting your intention, setting your sacred space, keeping yourself positive, uplifted, and inspired will help to inspire others along this path. So, as we close the last few minutes of our journey today, Andrew, I thank you so much for being our voice for Aurora. Do you have any thoughts that you would like to share based on your experience with reading the session with Aurora?
Sure. I'm struck that there are many, many ways to do work that counts. Each of us finds our own way. and there are many different facets to do unto others as you would have others do unto you, the sort of golden rule behind it all. As you know, I'm a puppeteer, and I try and reflect that in the work that I do with my wife. And we also produce a magazine about puppetry that connects us to artists in many, many countries around the world. And so, in our way, we're doing some of this same work just by connecting with people in other places. And I know there are many opportunities, no matter what our jobs are here or our hobbies, to kind of walk that path. So it was good to hear that from Aurora.
And you're exactly right. When you do what you're called to do in your heart, it's not like work. You're contributing your thread to the fabric of humanity. And if it's puppeteering, I'm sure that brings such joy to so many. So that's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Think of it as an opportunity, no matter what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Because that idea that we are all one, we're all in this together. We each have our part to play, whatever that is.
Absolutely. And I thank you for being the voice of Aurora and Jesus and Ray, and also the book one, The Uncreatus. You and I read the whole thing together. That was fabulous.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor. Anytime you're reading the work of, these sort of inspired words, whether it's from the Bible or from an older story, or from a new story from artists today or philosophers or what have you. Anytime you can connect with that sort of inspiration, it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you, Andrew. How can people find you and your wife and your magazine quickly?
Oh gosh, they can just Google Puppetry International magazine, and you'll find the website for our organization, Unima USA, which is an international puppetry organization.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew. Until next time, everyone, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.